Welcome to Born or Made, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of success and identity. Are the traits that define us as leaders ingrained from birth, or are they carved out throughout our experiences? Join your host, Anne-Marie LaTulip, as we ask these questions to some of the most insightful and inspiring entrepreneurs of our time. Each episode, we explore their journeys, the decisions that shaped them, and how they've molded their own paths to success. So whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or simply curious about the interplay between nature and nurture in professional growth, you're in the right place. Get ready for compelling stories, transformative insights, and a new perspective on what it really takes to make it in the world of entrepreneurship.
Hello, and welcome back to the Born or Made podcast. I'm your host, Anne-Marie LaTulip, and with me today, I am so thrilled to have the lovely Anne Carr. Anne was born in Broken Hill, Australia, and graduated from Flinders University with a BA in psychology and sociology. After graduating, she traveled around the world by herself. How awesome. For 3.5 years, met her husband of 30 years in Palo Alto and has 3 sons, 29, 27, and 20. Anne is a 3rd degree black belt, blue belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I hope I said that right, and best-selling author, keynote speaker, owner-operator of Stanford Chiropractic Center, beauty industry leader, international beauty and style diamond trainer with the Polka Dot Powerhouse Women's Business Group, all-Australian volleyball player, national track and field star, and national level soccer player. She created her ACE, Awareness, Confidence, and Empowerment Self-Defense class because nobody is coming to save you. You must know how to protect yourself. Well, my goodness, Anne, that is a lot of things. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I love your accent.
Oh,
I love your accent so much.
It's faded a little bit over the years.
Yeah.
So, it comes and goes.
So when was it that you left Australia? How long have you been here?
So I left the day after my 22nd birthday, and I'm almost 58. So long time ago.
Wow. And do you get to go back a lot?
I do. Yeah. Last year I got to go back about 4 times.
Do you still have family there?
My mum was over here in February, so that was really fun. And then I'll head back again in the next couple months and definitely October. So I like to get home a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been to Australia once and I loved it. It was a tour. I was with a touring show, so I got to see we didn't go to the Perth side, but we got to see the whole other coast. So it was great. Yeah, I love it there.
Oh God, so much fun. How long ago was that?
Oh my goodness, when was that? That would have been in maybe 99.
Okay.
No, actually, no, I'm sorry. Maybe like 2001, 2, around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Fun.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness, you do so many different things. I mean, I don't know which one to ask you about first. I guess
I haven't figured out a way to tie them all in together so it works.
Yeah.
Took me a while though.
So let's talk about the chiropractic. Are you a chiropractor, or do you just own the practice?
No, my husband is. We met when he had first opened his chiropractic center, and then I went and did all the pre-med classes, went to chiropractic school, fell pregnant, pulled out, never made it back.
Okay.
So I run the office. Yeah.
Oh,
in the
okay.
office and behind the scenes. So
okay, all right. So that's awesome. You have your own practice. That's great. Now let's talk about black belt. That is pretty impressive. And actually, you know what I want to ask you about?
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference between being a black belt in, I'm guessing it's just karate, rather than a blue belt in jiu-jitsu? What is jiu-jitsu? Can you talk about that?
So there are different styles. So there's so many different styles of martial arts. And they used to be all very separated out into, specifically Taekwondo or specifically Aikido. And then so Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is something that's been around for a while. That's more closer contact. Whereas they all have a different kind of theme to them. And ultimately, in the long run, to protect yourself out on the street, you need a combination of all of them.
Really?
Well, the first thing is you don't want to get involved. So the first thing is to get away from a situation. But
Yes.
I feel like with all the styles that I've done over the years, I actually started in judo when I was younger. I was probably like 10, 11, 12, something like that. And then moved into it later. I went back into martial arts when I was 32. And then I've been doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for, gosh, close to 4 or 5 years now. And that is the most challenging, humbling thing I have ever done. So some of the styles will go, like front to back, or like boxing, you're in and out. But Jiu Jitsu is kind of when you're taken to the ground. It can begin from standing,
Ah,
but also when you get to the ground. So I feel like having a lot of, I call it like little aces up your sleeve and little options for doing different things is super helpful.
so when you say taken to the ground, like wrestling would be kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. So some
Wow.
people will compare, yeah, so a little bit of grappling and wrestling and jujitsu. There are a little bit more on the ground and techniques. You start from a standing position, but you can end up on the ground. Um, and there's all different, I feel like it's really hard to describe.
Yeah.
So it's very close contact.
Okay.
Whereas a lot of the other sports, like boxing, you're keeping somebody at a distance, or karate, you're kind of keeping somebody at a distance.
Yes.
Jiu-jitsu was very challenging for me because I came from, 20 plus years of keeping people at a distance. And
Yeah.
then you're in this sport where you're all up close, and I don't want to be there, but you have to be there because that's how the sport works.
Oh, that's so
So,
interesting.
mhm.
So is a blue belt then in jiu-jitsu, is that the equivalent of a black belt in
So it
karate?
has taken me, so it depends. You're ranked differently. Some of the jujitsu schools do not have stripes or anything like that, but there's basically 4 belts. So it's jujitsu, you start off as a white belt, and then you go to blue belt, and then purple belt, brown belt, and then black belt. And
Okay.
my understanding, it takes on average 10 years, probably longer, to get a black belt in jujitsu. It's a very long term sport.
Commitment.
It's a never ending. It's very humbling. You feel like you maybe understand something, and then you get thrown for a loop, and you're just all the way back to beginner.
That
There's
is,
quite a few
it's
times where I said to my professor, can I have my white belt back? Whereas I feel like in the other sports, it's like, okay, let me get to the next belts. Let me get there, because I kind of knew where to go, to get there.
yeah.
Um,
Well, how long
I
did it
feel like
take you
they're
to get?
total different styles, but you can use them all together. I know
Okay.
I notice a lot of the martial artists now are giving lots of different styles to bring them all together so that you have different options when you're in different situations.
Yeah. Well, that makes
That
total
makes
sense
sense.
too. Yeah.
Hmm.
So how long did it take you to get a black belt in karate?
So I was 3.5 years. So it's taken me longer to get one belt in
Wow.
jiu-jitsu than it was to become, yeah, a black belt in the other stuff.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
it's fascinating.
yeah, I mean, I've never talked about this with anyone. This is such an interesting
Uh-huh.
subject. So is
And
that
it's
what?
funny because I wouldn't even consider myself a black belt, because I'm sorry, an expert in the jujitsu, because I'm so low. I feel like I'm so low on the totem pole that I'm kind of in the bottom, where I'm still in the beginning stages, even though I've been doing it close to 5 years. So
Wow, that's crazy. Oh my goodness.
yeah, it's like a never-ending journey, and I love it, but it is very humbling. A lot of people do not last very long in.
Is it because it's when you say that, is it because it's so physical or is it just um mindset? Is it physical or both?
It's a combination of everything because, well, you're in a situation where, as a woman, you're very close contact rolling with males. As males, you're very close contact rolling with males. So the way it begins is you kind of have a lesson for the first half hour of class, and then the second half of class they call it rolling. So you have 6-minute rounds where you're actually rolling and trying to do what you learned on the person that you're with. So it's quite exhausting because you
Yeah.
have different levels too, right? So you could be doing a 20% pace, a 50% pace, or let's go all in and try and let's try and do an armbar, or a heel hook, or choking somebody with a guillotine. So it depends. You need to be in a school where you have a very low ego, and you throw that out the door, and so you're learning and helping and growing, because there actually is a high percentage chance of getting injured if you go about it the wrong way, or if you start getting the ego,
Oh
starting
wow.
at a
That,
little bit. So I think in that respect, it can be challenging for women if you're not comfortable in those situations.
Yeah.
But also for anyone in those situations, and then just learning the dynamics of it and how it works. And then you have to learn the techniques. And because you're rolling with someone, there's so many different techniques that can happen. It's not like you're doing boxing and you have a left jab and a right cross and then an uppercut,
Yeah. Yeah.
uppercut. So in jiu-jitsu, you could be in front of someone, you've got, oh my goodness, I've got like 10,000 options right here, and then I blank and I can't think of anything.
Oh my God. That's so interesting. So
I feel like it's I feel like in my mind, I feel like the karate, kempo, taekwondo, that's like playing checkers, and then jujitsu is like playing chess. Because when you roll with your professor, they're already 5, 6 moves ahead of you, and they're just setting you up to mess with you. Okay, like they give you a little space so you move that way, and then they've got you. So it's like if you get a little bit of space, you think, okay, I'm not going to go that way because they're
that's
setting me up.
that's interesting. So does it matter in jiu-jitsu? Does it matter? Because I know in karate it might not. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but let me ask the question. You can tell me. Does it matter how big or small you are, in terms of winning a match or beating your opponent? Is it more about inner strength, like karate, like we see the Karate Kid and
Right.
focus and all that, or does size really help?
The more experienced you are, the size. So when you first start out in jiu-jitsu, you tend to use a lot more strength and muscle. And then the more you learn, they call it, it's more like a flow. You can figure out that it's the feel of the other person and what they're doing, and it's more leverage. So you will get the upper belts that are smaller that can take on the bigger ones because it's more leverage and they have more experience. So it's like the chess. So you're setting up that person to get them in a position that would help you with your leverage to, you know,
Got it.
to
Yeah, that
to
makes sense.
to do that. But ultimately, I feel like for somebody like me as a woman, it's still very, there's a lot of strength involved too, right? So I
Yeah.
could still get out muscled by a human.
Okay. All right. That was my question.
Yeah. So there's things that you can do. So I feel like this is where my background in all the other martial arts is. I don't want to get into that situation to begin with, so I
Yeah.
want to keep them at a distance. But if something happened on the street, you could also get out of that situation. But I feel like somebody's not going to be attacking you very well that's very experienced, because they should have the discipline, to not be in that situation. But
Yep.
for somebody on the street, you'd be a few steps ahead of them and get out of that situation before you got there. And once you get there, you would be able to use what you could to get out of there.
Okay. And is that what you teach people? Because in your information, it says that you teach a virtual self-defense
Okay. Yeah.
class,
So
right? Do you want to
so
talk
I
about that?
create yeah, so over the years I realized that not everybody has the commitment that I did to go 3, 4, 5 times a week and train all the time and have that, because there's so many things to juggle. And of course, everyone's attention span is, we want it now, 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 which is
Right.
the same thing with jujitsu, right? Like, I feel like I could be wrong on this, but I feel like even like Joe Rogan, he was a brown belt for 9 years. So that wasn't even leading up to that. I mean, maybe quote, I'll go have to search that one, but I know it took him
Yeah.
a real long time. So for somebody that's not really that committed, um, I decided to create a class, and it's a 2-hour class, and it has a little bit of everything, but it starts with your body language and how to hold yourself to not get into a situation, and then
Okay.
how to do things like keeping your hands out of your pockets, but having your hands up and out if you needed to have them out, but you're not in a threatening or an aggressive kind of situation, so it doesn't look like you're gonna go in for a fight or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just the way you hold yourself, giving eye contact, body language, how to walk past someone, how to do little tips and tricks to keep yourself out of a situation. And then I show things like if something happened at a distance, or if you got closer, or if you got really close, and then if somebody took you to the ground. So I show some little things along the way on how to do something at a distance, and then how to, if you're on the ground. And of course, it's impossible to teach
Virtually.
25, 30 years worth of stuff in 2 hours.
Yeah.
But the feedback I get on it has been super awesome. And mostly what I do encourage is, when I do these classes, is to find a school near them that would help them with what they're looking for. Because I want to
Right.
plant the seed of empowerment and plant the seed that, yes, you are strong and powerful and you can do these things and you can learn to take care of yourself, and just plant a few little things, in their mind, and then find them a different place.
That's
Like with
awesome. Yeah.
Zoom, I did one in London and then I try and find them a place over there. They'll send me a couple of schools close to them and I'll do a little bit of research and find
Okay.
out one that I think would
Do you
be
have
good.
a lot of people taking the class? Good attendance?
I do,
Yeah.
and I do them because I'm in the office full time and I juggle a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Uh, I have one set that I run every month, but then I also do on my website, people can go on there, and if there's like a fun group that wants to do it together, or if it's a real estate group and they want to focus on, real estate agents have different
Yeah.
concerns.
Yeah.
Sometimes if somebody has had, or there's a group and somebody has had something happen to them, I will very mindfully do something around that situation without letting anyone know that somebody has been in that situation. So it allows somebody to kind of talk through, or maybe talk through a situation that they may be in, or something that could give them some tools to get out of it without kind of putting anyone on the spot. So,
Wow.
and I will do them, I do anything. I'll do private lessons with 2 or 3 people. I've done up to 60 people. I have an invite coming up. I think there's 100 people. My challenge with those groups is we all get to break a board at the end. So I have to find some board holders to come with me. So I have everyone write on the board something like a goal on one side or a fear on the other side, or a goal and a fear on the same side if they want to keep it to themselves. And then when I hold the board, I have it face them, so they can see it. Or if it's something that they don't want to share and it's personal to them, they don't have to share it with anyone else.
Yeah.
So then they can choose to either break through the fear, break through the goal, or break through both, or however they want to do it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty. I love it. I love seeing their faces.
That's so
Love
cool.
seeing it.
So, is it challenging to do this virtually?
It is. There's a couple of times I was laughing. One of them, they had to pull out some pillows. Like I was trying to show them how to do something. I'm like, just go grab a pillow. So it's not as good, but there's still a lot of stuff that you can talk about virtually and have them practice a couple of things.
Yeah. And like you said, recommend a physical studio that they can go to. Do you teach physical classes where you are?
Not anymore. I used to. I don't do it anymore. I prefer to do it this way, and then it's quite challenging running our own chiropractic business. And then if I went back into teaching again, it's very time consuming. And so I just prefer to do these classes and then, find them a school. I
Yeah.
do have people ask, but I haven't jumped back into it
Yeah,
yet.
maybe someday. Where do you live?
What was that? Sorry?
Where are you? Where do you live?
I'm in California, in the Bay Area, in Menlo Park, Palo Alto area.
Oh, still in Palo Alto. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So,
Yeah.
wow, all of that is super interesting. I have never had anyone on my show that talked about that stuff. So it was really, really an interesting conversation. But I want to segue to now an international track and field star. Is that
That's
right?
national. When I was younger, when I grew up in the Outback, we didn't have. I'm a born in the '60s kid, so we didn't have a lot. We didn't have a lot of distractions like cell phones and things like that.
Yeah.
So totally into sports. I was a ballerina with the Russian School of Ballet for 10 years. I was a
no
soccer
kidding.
player. I did anything and everything that was sports wise. And our town, we were a very small town. We were a little city out in the middle of nowhere, but we were super great athletes. And so we would always have our own division. We were like the West Darling division, I think. So we would always go and rep and go to the Australian Championships for pretty much everything. So yeah, that was a good stage for all of our groups. There were a bunch of great athletes. There was a gal 2 years older than me that ended up going to the Olympics for gymnastics too. And I think we had a couple of swimmers. So yeah, we would just, that's what we did out there. We did sports. So yeah. And I think I didn't do really well when I got to the Australian Championships, but that's okay. I made it.
That's awesome. What's it like growing up in Australia? I mean, you didn't know any different at the time, but now that you've been here for a while,
I'm in two total different worlds. So we're in
yeah,
Silicon Valley, which is tech,
yeah.
and then my grandma only recently passed away last year. She was 98.
Oh, wow.
And she pretty much still had the same car that I learned to drive in when I was 17. I put more
What?
miles on my car here in 5 years going up and down the freeway, shuffling the kids around to
Yeah.
sports than we did at home. So we're in the Outback. It's 800 miles west of Sydney, and it's called Broken Hill. But BHP started there, Broken Hill Proprietary. So it's silver, lead, and zinc is a mining
Oh,
town.
wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah, and we were a super awesome hub for even further out. Like we had School of the Air, the Flying Doctor Service. So we were a hub for getting even more, you know, outback. So we actually were the big city. We got to meet
Really?
all we got to meet all the bands going through from, Sydney through to Adelaide or across to Perth, or they'd come out and practice in our hometown. So we got to meet all the big time bands and we had a great time. But there's
That's
not,
awesome.
I think because I was born there, I love going home. I'm not sure my husband would probably last. He loves to go visit, but he'd probably last like a month there and be like, okay, I'm ready to go.
So, all right. So, would you say that where you were, well, first off, let me ask this.
Okay.
The Outback, is that
Mhm.
just part of Australia, or is that Australia as a whole considered the Outback?
I feel like so people have different interpretations. I feel like once you got out of Sydney and you're an hour or two past Sydney and then you just hit everything, they just call that Outback. So I
Okay.
feel like once you just start hitting the desert out of the cities is when people start calling it Outback.
Okay. That's what
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah.
So, in the center of Australia,
Yep.
there's really nothing there. It's all desert, right?
So the center of Australia is around like Uluru, Ayers Rock, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ayers Rock.
there's not you're gonna get these small towns. So we were considered so we were actually were 30,000 when I was growing up. It's now down to 17,000. But once you get outside of Broken Hill, you'll travel a couple of hours and the towns have 50 people out there, 20 people.
Wow.
And then those go out to where you'll have stations where there's families that live on there. My dad, he flew small planes, and I went with him on a couple of trips where there were four of us in the small plane where we would fly to a place called Tibooburra, where I think there were 17 people lived there. But I gave some swimming lessons. They had a pool there, a little teeny pool, like a hotel pool.
Yeah.
There's like one gas station or petrol station that we say. One service store, like a grocery store and things like that, but in one hotel. So, but once every 2 weeks, the kids from the stations would go into Tibooburra and have a class. So I did the swimming class, my dad taught a piano class, and then one of the other guys that we were with taught a PE class. So these kids do schooling by CB radio or however they do it now. And then they would all go in every 2 weeks or even sometimes once a month and meet their classmates and their teacher and have a class and then go back out. So
Wow.
it's fascinating. It's a fascinating world. And the
Yeah.
funny part was when we turned up and there's one little classroom. I think the classroom was held maybe in a church hall. And there was when I turned up, there was like the Prince of Mongolia there with all his security guards. It was like,
What?
where did you come from? So I got to meet, yeah,
That's
royalty,
cool.
which was super cool. So they happened to be touring and wanted to come see these places too. And yeah, and
So,
then the other second place we went to was a place called White Cliffs, where most of it's underground. So it's opal mining, and even there's a big hotel that's underground.
what?
And they give you a flashlight and a map and tell you if you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, here's how you find it.
Okay, wait. I want to write
Okay,
that. Where is that? What did you call it?
so the places I'm talking about, one is called Tibooburra, Tibooburra. That's
Okay.
Tibooburra. And then the other one is called White Cliffs. So
White.
white and then cliffs, Cliffs. And it's super cool. So if you do an aerial view, it actually looks like a crater because the way they dig, it just looks like these little circles with it looks like little ant hills. But then when you hit the hotel, and some of the people actually live in the hills as well too. They have their homes in there.
What? That is
Somebody let
so
us go.
cool.
But I doubt that. I don't even know if this person is around anymore. But this one woman let us go into her home, but she had so much opal. Like she said she couldn't get insurance. Like it was hidden in there. Like it was crazy. Like massive, massive things. So yeah, it was crazy.
Wow,
So
that is so cool. I am gonna look those places.
yeah, look
So
those places up.
can you go there as a tourist to White
Yeah,
Cliffs? Oh yeah?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, you can drive there. We were like the instant party bus because it was my husband and I. We had our kids. I think my sister wanted to come, and then we had a couple of guests with us. So we got like a 12 van, little van thing, and just drove out there and stopped at some places along the way, and yeah, went up
Wow.
there and
So
stayed the night.
where is it in Australia, White Cliffs? Is it like right in the middle or
Yeah, it's kind of so. Yeah, so it's just it's well, it's a
kind of
couple
right?
of hours away from Broken Hill, and we're 800 miles west of Sydney. So if you maybe like a third of the way
Wow.
across.
How big
Yeah.
is, sorry, I ask you all these questions about
No, no,
Australia,
no,
but
you're great.
everybody
You're
loves
great.
Australia. So, um, how big across is it? How long would it take you to drive from one side to the other?
So we did when I played volleyball, we went out there for the Australian National Volleyball Championship, University Championships. And from Adelaide, so I was in Adelaide, that's where I went to Flinders, and we caught the train to Perth. I believe it was 2 days, 2 nights. So if you go from Adelaide to Sydney, I believe it's 3 days, 2 nights, or pushing 3 days, getting close to 3 nights to go.
Wow.
It's super fun to do that. So you can catch, I think they've made it a little bit more harder to do smaller stretches, but we always caught the Indian Pacific from Broken Hill to Sydney, and it's overnight. So you get on like 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you arrive in Sydney 7 o'clock the next morning. But as you get on there, it's really cool. It's like you're on the Orient Express because they have like glove service, and you have like a little booth with your own little, well, very small shower,
Yeah.
bathroom, like little fold down toilets, little teeny cubicle things. And then you get served, like they'll bring you tea, they'll knock on your door and bring you tea in the morning. And actually used to be cheaper than flying. So I think they've upped to
Oh,
the
I'm sure.
so and so we used to love doing that. And they call you, you get a dinner service, so you get to go down for dinner and then you go down for breakfast. So once you leave Broken Hill, you hit all the beautiful, you see the kangaroos and everything and the emus and everything going around, and then you get kind of bored after a couple of hours because the excitement's worn off. So then you
Yeah.
have dinner, and then when you wake up in the morning, you're going through the Blue Mountains, which is beautiful. So
I
you
was
wake
just
up
gonna,
in
yeah,
going through
I
that.
was just gonna ask you if there's mountains in Australia. So
Yeah,
you answered.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. You can go skiing. You can do a lot of similar things.
Does it snow there?
Uh-huh.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, not big mountains like here. If you flip-flop, so if you flip-flop the states and just kind of flip it up. So the top of Australia has, cyclones and that kind of stuff, very tropical kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then it gets colder down the bottom. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All
Yeah,
right.
and then in the center you'll get.
So when I was there, we went to, I forget where we flew into. It must have been Sydney, but the first city that we played was Adelaide.
Okay.
Yeah, we went to Adelaide, and then we went to Newcastle,
Nice.
and then we went to Melbourne,
Mm-hmm.
and there was one other place further north on the coast. I can't remember where it was, but then we went to Sydney last.
If it was not, was it up at Brisbane?
Brisbane, yes, that was it.
Okay.
That
Okay.
was where I held a koala. Yes, it was in
Oh,
Brisbane.
you did? Yes. Yeah. Some of the states won't let you hold a koala. So in New South Wales, you're not allowed to hold koalas, but you can in South Australia, and I'm assuming now Queensland.
Okay.
Yeah, they have
Interesting.
different rules and regulations on holding them. Did you like holding them? They're not
Oh,
as cuddly as you think. They're a
okay,
little
so
bit wiry and sharp nails.
the nails were like,
Right.
no, but they just, the way they put them on you, they just
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah. Have you ever remember when you were a kid? Did you ever see those little clippy things? They were
Mhm.
koalas and their arms open like this.
Yep. Yep.
That's kind of what it was like. But I have. Can I share a story with you?
Of course, I wanted to ask you about like you were dancing, right? Is that were you
Yeah. So well, I toured with. I worked at Disney
nice?
as a
Love Disney.
it was a character, but I was a show character, so it was a lot of dancing. And then I went on tour with Sesame Street Live.
Oh, very fun.
Yeah, and that was who I was touring with when I came to Australia. It was Sesame Street Live.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And then after that, I just did a bunch of musical theater, and now I don't perform anymore, but I design funnels and websites and funnel strategy, so that's a place for me to release my creativity. But
Yeah.
anyway, a story about the koala is it's funny. I don't think I've ever told anybody the story on this show, but I guess koalas have never come up before. There used to be did you ever watch Sesame Street as a kid? Okay.
All the time.
All right. So on Sesame Street, there used to be like a little segment where the koala bear would be in the tree and he would sing Rockabye Baby. I don't know if you remember that, but like
remember that.
For whatever reason, I don't know why, but every time it came on, it made me cry as a little kid. Like, because I was sad for the koala because it looked lonely and he was singing Rockabye Baby, and it just made me cry. Sometimes, even if I still hear Rockabye Baby, it makes me cry. It's just so weird. But anyway, so I've always loved koalas because of that segment on Sesame Street. So meeting the koala and holding the koala was the most exciting thing that had ever happened to me at that point. I loved it. He was so cuddly, and I just loved it. So yeah, it was an awesome time.
And did you sing to him?
No, I didn't. Unfortunately, I couldn't hold him that long. They took him away from me. But that was so cool. Oh my God. That's like, to me, that was one right up there with my other thing is I would love to swim with the dolphins. I'm guessing you get to do that in Australia a lot. Are there dolphins down there?
Well, I grew up without any water, so it's really funny when people ask me water questions because I'm like, I can talk all about red dirt and saltbush, but I don't know much. But I think I think you can, and I think especially over in on Perth and above Perth, it's Monkey Mia. I think you can do a lot with.
Okay, yeah, I figured. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, so
have to go back.
Yeah, I have to go back. I have to see another koala. And it was at the Brisbane Zoo, right? Like there's that huge zoo there.
Okay.
It was so cool. There were so many kangaroos, and it was just really, really, and some Tasmanian devils. I forget what the real name of them are, but
did you feed the kangaroos too?
Oh yeah, we fed the kangaroos and the camels.
Yep.
They were mean. Camels are mean. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he was a jerk. He tried to bite my face off. Yeah. Anyway, enough about me. So
no, I love hearing those stories too.
Yeah, so I gotta get back there, especially now that you told me about these two places. I'm gonna check them out as soon as I get off the call with you. But let's talk more about you. So what are you doing now? What would you say? Because the name of the show is Born Mate, so it's as entrepreneurs, we're the 1% crazy. That's I don't know if you're familiar with Russell Brunson, but that's kind of what his saying is. And for me, I did a lot of things when I was younger that people thought were crazy, outside of the box. I couldn't, it was very difficult for me. I call myself unemployable because it was very difficult for me to be in a constraints of a job and have a boss. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about your childhood. And did you experience any of those things at a young age?
Yeah, definitely. I consider myself quite spirited.
Yeah, so that's a great word for it. Yeah.
I think the sports kind of helped rope me in. Yeah, it kind of kept me out of trouble and kept me tied. I still got into trouble, but so and it's funny, like as an adult now, I almost still am not quite sure what I want to be when I grow up, but I've done so many fun things and I love everything that I do.
Yeah, you have done a lot.
I keep going, but if you kind of nailed me down to one thing, it'd be quite challenging. So like my husband knew at 8 that he wanted to be a chiropractor. And
that's so random, right? Like,
and he loves, I have never once in 30 years of marriage and 33 years of being together, never once heard him say that he doesn't want to turn up to work. I mean, he loves it. Whereas, I kind of squirrel everywhere. I'm like, oh, this looks
me too.
like, oh, this looks good.
I get bored.
Yeah.
Although now that I've found what I'm doing now, like this,
Yeah.
I know that this is my passion and what I'm supposed to do. But up
Yep.
until then, like I was like you, I like I'll do a little bit of everything, you
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
try it on, see if it fits.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's
Definitely.
so random. Like,
Um,
what makes your husband? What makes somebody wake up and say, "I want to crack bones"? You know what I
so
mean?
he had, we don't say crack, we say adjust. No.
I'm sorry, adjust. But no, I love a good chiropractor.
So
Trust
his
me.
mom injured herself, and
Okay.
he remembers, I think, dad helping mom get into the car and then going to the chiropractor and then watching what the chiropractor did and then seeing her
Oh,
walk out.
that's cool.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
he saw that and was like, it was fascinated by it, and then, did more research and spent a lot of time talking with the chiropractor, and then, yeah, so he,
that's
and
so cool. And I'll say, and then I'm gonna turn it back to you. I interrupted you. I'm sorry, but
no, you're
um,
good.
the chiropractor was a very important person in my life when I was on tour because we were wearing, the full body costumes, and
Hmm.
so we would find one in every city.
Hmm.
So I know how important they are, and
Hmm.
yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so okay, so back to you. So the sports reeled you in. You were spirited.
Yeah, and I actually wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I wanted to go into the police force, but I was too young. So I was 17 when I went to university, and I had to be a little bit older. So I thought, well, I'll turn up to university, and then after the first year, I'll apply. And then once I did the first year, I thought, oh, I'll just keep going. I might as well finish. And then as a graduation present from university, my parents bought me a ticket around the world for a year. Here I am 35 years later. I think sometimes they wish they never did that.
Yeah, right.
And it was around the world ticket. And it was 3 airlines. Yeah, as long as you're going in one direction, you can just keep hopping on the plane. And I actually went to work at a summer camp. So I flew all the way over to the East Coast, New Jersey, and ended up working there for the summer. And then found my way back to Palo Alto because I knew somebody I'd gone to university with. And then kind of just zigzag back and forth, and did a couple of times went over to Europe, came back, ended up doing 4 summers at the summer camp. But the second year I came back to Palo Alto was when I met my husband. So before I left Australia, I had kind of moved into working with a company with my psychology degree. And they said they'd hold my job for me for about a year. And then obviously I didn't go back. So I called him and said, I'm not coming back. So in Australia, if you travel early on, you actually tend to get hired later because it's expected that you're going to travel. It's a different it's a different train of thought over here. If you go traveling, I think people think that you're probably not quite ready to settle down, or they won't hire you.
Yeah,
You know, the
yeah.
opposite, and yeah, over there. Well, it was when I was growing up anyway. And so then I found that I wanted to, once I was with Gavin and was working in the chiropractic office, and I really wanted to get into chiropractic, and then, things happen, and then I fell pregnant, and then I actually fell pregnant and then miscarried.
Oh
And then,
no. Okay.
yeah. And then, so this was all, and then I decided, okay, we wanted to have a family, that I needed to kind of step back a little bit and do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so now I've always run the office and done that. So I kind of fell into that. So it's, yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so,
So
yeah.
are you are you you're a speaker too, right? You
Hmm.
speak?
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
So what is when you speak, what is your preferred topic to speak about? Is it self-defense?
So I've moved towards that. You're just talking about what you found now that you love. This is what I've fallen into that I love. And the chiropractic center always takes priority.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I can make it work within, chiropractic, because I'm the one that's always called in, to help when things need a little bit extra help and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I do. So, and it actually depends on what they want me to speak about. There's been some organizations where I've talked about goal setting. My husband and I have like a workbook that we've made. It's free. It's on my website. You can get
Okay.
it, video that you can watch. So sometimes I've been asked to talk about that, talk about goal setting and how to plan things out. But I'm finding more and more, I'm getting a lot more connections now, people asking me to talk about, I have a 20-minute version of my ACE class where I'll do that at luncheons or dinners or things
Okay.
like that. And so I kind of move into what they would ask, what they're looking for. So I was a speaker for the Scouts, and so I tied empowerment in with their philosophy. They have a little philosophy that they do, and so I kind of tied it in with it. And so I kind of adapt to what people are asking for.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and yeah, it's mostly empowerment.
Yeah,
And then move into that and planting the seed for empowerment.
that's awesome. Love that.
Mhm.
So do you ever
Yeah.
get out to the East Coast?
When was the last time I was just in Atlanta
Okay.
last week, but that's kind of not quite.
Yeah, that's a little south of
Um,
me.
yeah, I haven't been there. No, I haven't been there in a long time. I do love New Jersey. I have a soft spot for New Jersey because I worked at the summer camp there.
I was gonna say, why New Jersey?
You're
No
assigned
offense
a
to anyone
camp.
from New Jersey.
You're assigned a camp. So here's another, like I actually was a piano player when I was growing up too. I've got all these things like back there. And so I was sent over to be a piano player, but I was nowhere near as good as everyone there. So I actually asked if I could be a lifeguard swim teacher instead. So I got to sit by the pool and do lifeguarding and swim lessons, and I didn't have to do because it was an arts and music center. And
Oh,
I was totally underqualified. I mean,
but
they had amazing people at this place.
but they had a pool?
Yeah, they had a pool out there too. Yeah, we had like the chicken coops that were converted into bunks for kids for the summer camp.
Oh,
Yeah, we didn't have that in Australia, so it's a whole new world to me. But they had
yeah.
an arts and music center where they did theater, so they would learn from some of the best that would come down from Philadelphia and New York, and there were international students too.
Oh,
So then I kind of asked
wow.
if I could go out by the pool and be a lifeguard.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So I do have a soft spot. It was a place that was 30 miles south of Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not too bad. I think I told you I'm in Boston, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's not too bad. It's
So we speak the same with our accents.
I don't know, I got rid of that a long time ago. Do you know what's so funny is when I was in Australia, I think it was Melbourne. I was
Mhm.
at the hotel bar and there was a gentleman in there and he started talking about because I was saying, I love the Australian accent and we started talking about language and blah, blah, blah. He ended up telling me that we Americans bastardized the English language.
Dude,
I'll never forget that. I was like,
sounds
dude,
like
I just
something an Aussie would
complimented
say.
you. What? I just complimented your accent. Now you're gonna insult mine? Yeah, never
Yeah,
forget that.
sounds
Yeah.
about right. Sounds like something an Australian would say.
Right. So yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh
All
my
right.
goodness.
Well, we're coming to the end of our talk here, which is too bad because this has been super fun. You have a free
Yeah.
gift for my audience, correct?
What was that? I'm sorry?
You have a free gift for my audience?
I do. For anyone that signs up or wants to do the ACE class, I'm doing a 2-for-1. I have always donated the money to charity. We never even talked about that. So the
Oh,
classes that I
wow.
teach, I donate to a charity. And it's a place called Sapria where women can go to heal from childhood sexual abuse. So I've always donated 100% of the proceeds. When I travel to somebody, though, I do have them cover, travel and hotel and stuff like that to get me there. But yeah, we never really talked about that. But
Yeah.
there are people that, yeah. So if you wanted to grab one class, you can get a second one for free, or if you wanted to invite a friend. So if I did it by Zoom, then somebody could hold the pillow for you.
Yeah, I love that. And the question I had before about the signs is like, what do you prepare everybody in advance to make sure they have something to break for the class?
I don't have any. So obviously through Zoom they can't break anything. The board has to be held a certain way and things like that. So you don't get the board breaking experience with that.
Ah,
Yeah, so
okay,
that one you can. Yeah, that one you can't. I don't want anyone getting injured or anything like
right.
that.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
it's a version of that, and there's a lot of stuff that we do that's not. So there's different versions of it too. Like when I'm home here, I have the boxing bag, I have the pads, I have all the weapons, we have all the stuff. Like if people want to touch and play with it.
Mhm.
But when I travel to people, obviously I can't travel with all of that. So we do improvise wherever we are and on what we can do and how we do it, and everyone gets an amazing experience.
Oh, that's great. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll definitely post all about that. And the one thing that I didn't ask you about that I want to do real quick, because I've just was curious about what it is something about I'll have to look at it. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna look it up. It was in your bio. The Polka Dot Powerhouse Women's Business Group. Can you
Oh, it's an
talk about that
yeah.
really quick? Yeah.
It's an awesome business women's group. I've been with them for about 7 years. It's an online group. You have local chapters. So we have a Palo Alto chapter here, but there's chapters all over America, over in England, up in Canada. There's probably there's around 3,000 and it's growing, 3,500 people. It's almost like having an online sorority. And it's very drama free, very
Okay.
drama free.
It's for
So,
entrepreneurs,
oh,
leaders.
yes. And
Yeah.
you could be brick and mortar, you could be online, you could be someone that doesn't know what they want to do and want a women's connection group. And we always say there's a dot for that. So I typically go to my dots first if I have, like if I'm looking for a lawyer, if I'm looking for, I don't know, want to buy a pair of shoes or glasses or something like that or anything. And it's a connection. So it's you lead in with getting to know the person first and you don't lead in with sales. So it's getting to know people. So if somebody on the East Coast, I could do a Zoom connect with them. We get to know each other and how can I help your business? So if somebody's looking for somebody on the East Coast, or if somebody's looking on my end, how can we help each other? And there's no exclusivity in it. So you could have 10 hairstylists in there, or whatever. It
Oh,
doesn't matter.
okay.
You don't necessarily connect with everyone, and that's okay. That's totally normal. But there may be one hairstylist in there that you do connect with, and that's great. So it's a great company if you want to look into it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy being with them.
Yeah, I'll
It's
definitely
very
check
low
it out.
key. You don't have to turn up to the meetings. You don't have to, there's Zoom options. It's like I could go to the East Coast and I could say, hey Dots, I'm coming out of the East Coast. Can I stay with someone or where do I need to go? And they'll just scoop you up and give you a
Oh, that's
card,
awesome.
it just kind of help you out. So I don't know much about sororities because we didn't have them when I was in Australia, but it's like an online sorority group that
Okay.
helps each other out.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
in all
and you
ways.
build each other up and help each other's,
Yeah. And you can totally be
business. Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
totally your own personality. Just turn up as you are.
That's great. I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to look into it, and I will put some information about it in the show notes also. So in case anyone listening would like to check it out as
Yeah.
well.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Like
Anne,
we could talk for hours.
yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Lastly,
Mhm.
I don't know if you've seen any of my episodes, my prior episodes, but at the last thing I do is ask you just a few random questions.
Okay, perfect.
Okay?
Go for it.
Ready? All right, question 1.
Okay.
Do you believe in Bigfoot?
Ooh. If I'm put on the spot. I've never been asked that question before.
Right?
Okay, I'm going to say yes because I believe in possibilities.
Uh, do you know that like 85% of the people I ask say yes?
Oh,
And
do they?
I'm sure everyone listening is sick of the story because I tell it every episode that the reason I ask that question is because it's just such a debate in my house because I personally do not think he exists. I think there would be
Yeah.
proof if he did. And then my boyfriend is like the complete opposite. He's interdimensional and he's elusive and he's real and so it's just a
I
fun
think I say yes because I love the idea of having it. Like you said, like they're
yeah.
elusive and doing their own thing and they're having us guessing and then it just opens up this, oh, so maybe.
Yeah, right. All right,
But I
cool.
feel like a drone would probably have caught him by
Right?
now.
I mean, so
I
like
know.
every picture you see is like, is it? I don't know. It could be, but I'm not sure. Like, anyway. Okay. Next question. If you had the opportunity to go into outer space and walk on the moon, would you take it?
I'd probably say no.
Mm, I
'Cause I'm
agree.
claustrophobic. I'm claustrophobic.
That's so funny. My last guest said the exact same thing.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but I have touched the moon, which is good. When I went out to Florida and I was out at the space station, there's a place where you can touch the moon. And I touched the moon and I said I put myself there visually and
Okay. That's close enough for
I
me.
feel like I have experienced a little bit of the moon here on Earth.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
think I'd be a good astronaut. I think I'd panic.
Yeah, I would too. I would not. No, I get scared on flights sometimes. So I'm perfectly fine right here on the ground. Okay, last question. If you had the opportunity to have dinner with any one person, alive or dead, who would it be?
I would pick my grandfather again.
Oh no, don't cry.
My role model.
That's
Without
awesome.
it, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Good
I
answer.
really adore, yeah, absolutely, without a doubt.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I'm
know.
not totally taken with famous people or anything like that. I mean, I've just
Yeah. Somebody that you miss. Yeah.
and somebody that,
That's
get a hug from
awesome.
my grandfather would mean everything. Yeah.
That's great. All right. And this has been wonderful. Thank you so much
I
for
have loved this. Yeah, thank
joining
you.
me. And thank you, everyone, for listening and tuning into the Born or Made podcast. And I will see you next time.